In Parshas Pinchas, wanted to discuss the topic of humility. So there's an interesting sugya in this week's parsha. There's the chapter of the Bnos Tzelafchad. So the parsha discusses that they were splitting up the Yerusha for Eretz Yisrael, that they were about to enter Eretz Yisrael, and Moshe and Elazar are divvying out the portions. And Tzelafchad, it was based on the sons. And Tzelafchad was a member of Menashe's Shevet who had passed away, and his daughters came with a critique that their Shevet's going to lose that portion of the land, and since their father didn't have any daughters, didn't have any sons, they should inherit in his place. And they made an argument. They said that a daughter counts as a child in terms of Yibum. It prevents the mother from falling to Yibum. So if it works for Yibum, it should also work for Yerusha in place of a son, that they should get the inheritance. And the Torah tells us that Moshe brought their claim before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem said that in fact that yes, they're correct. They should inherit their father's portion. The simple understanding of the story is that Moshe had not, explored this topic, and he didn't know the answer, and that's why he brought it before HaKadosh Baruch Hu instead of answering the question himself. But the Midrash Rabbah in Pinchas Chaf Aleph Yud Beis actually gives us two different explanations of why Moshe Rabbeinu didn't answer the question himself. So the Midrash's first pshat, Vayikra Moshe's mishpat, and he brought the mishpat before Hashem. So there are some that say, says the Midrash, Shehifli min Moshe, that Hashem sort of hid this law for Moshe Rabbeinu, because there are tzaddikim who are nisko b'dvar mitzvah, v'hitish HaKadosh Baruch Hu is kochan. Sometimes they have a certain pride with regard to the mitzvahs, and Hashem weakens their strength. As we find by David HaMelech, he said, Zmiros hayuli chukecha. He said, your songs were like, your laws are like zmiros to me, they're like songs. What does he mean by that? That they're easy, they're familiar. Hashem says, you're going to make a mistake in something which even children read. What was Moshe meaning? You're going to be punished for saying such a line about Torah. You're going to make a mistake in a very simple area. What was David's mistake? When he brought the Aron Kodesh back after they recaptured it from the Pleshtim, so he left it on a wagon, and the Midrash says, Toha Aron Atzmo Ba'avir, the wagon, the Aron suspended itself in the air, and the wagon slipped out from under it. And so Uzzah came to come and support it, because he sees the Aron floating in the air. Hashem struck him down. And it was a tremendous tragedy in the middle of this simcha of bringing back the Aron that Uzzah, one of the chief people probably involved, was killed. And it was because David made this mistake of putting the Aron on a wagon. And Hashem punished him as a result. David was very upset at himself, and Hashem says to him, didn't you say Zmiros hayuli chukecha? But you know the pasuk, that they have to carry the Aron on their shoulders. You know the basic pasuk, that the Aron has to be carried on the shoulders. How did he make this mistake? He made this mistake because Hashem caused him to make this mistake as a punishment for saying Zmiros hayuli chukecha. And the same thing says the Midrash Moshe Rabbeinu, because he said, Hadavar sheyikruvun asher yikshemi kam tikruvun elai ushamativ. Moshe Rabbeinu says in Devarim, any matter that he told them, any matter that's too difficult for you, you should bring it to me, and I'll hear it. So hitish kochan, so Hashem weakened his strength. It's a mashal to a money changer, says the Midrash. He says to his Talmud, if they bring you basic coins, you change them. If you get the pearls, then bring them to me. I want the more chashiv stuff. I get the best stuff. So then somebody comes along with beads of glass to bring to the teacher, and the teacher is overwhelmed by it. It's too complicated. He has to go to somebody else to show it to. So too, Moshe says, Asher diver sheyikshu mikam. Moshe obviously was the biggest onav of all time. Obviously, he didn't mean to be gaividik by saying, the toughest stuff bring to me. But at the same time, it's a line, which bespeaks of a little bit of you think you're the best. And on somebody on Moshe Rabbeinu's level, there's a certain critique of it. And so then Bnos Tzelafchad came with what the Midrash calls is a simple question, and Moshe had to bring it before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Hashem says to him that they're right, their claim is correct, they're entitled to the land. Hashem, I thought you said I thought you said you can handle the best stuff. So now, now you're judge. You don't know something which even the women were able to figure it out. Even these women, they were able to figure out the halacha, and you don't know it. It's his punishment for speaking in a way that was lacking in a certain humility. It shows us how careful we have to be in the area of anivos, of humility. Davar Achar, Midrash gives another pshat. Reish Lakish says, really, Moshe Rabbeinu knew this din. However, what happened? The Sari Asaros came, meaning so the first pshat was that Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know the halacha because Hashem made him miss an obvious halacha. An obvious to Moshe Rabbeinu's level is halacha, because as you should speak differently. This pshat is that Moshe Rabbeinu knew this halacha, and the Marzuz spells out not only that, all the judges who they came before knew the halacha. However, they first came before the Sari Asaros, right, the lowest level judges, and they said, there are bigger people than us who should answer such a question. So they came to the Sari Chamishim, the leaders of 50. They said, when they saw that the people of 10 had deferred, they said, there are bigger people than us too. Let's go to the Sari Meos. Same thing, they said, let's go to Sari Elefim, let's go to the people of the 1,000. They went to the Nesiim, and everybody kept saying the same thing, let's pass the ball on. There are people bigger than us. Why should we open our mouths on such a thing? They didn't want to open their mouths before somebody bigger than them. So they came before Elazar, and he said, here's Moshe Rabbeinu. So everybody comes, the whole entourage comes to Moshe Rabbeinu, ready to judge the Shaila. Moshe saw that each one had honored somebody greater than him. He says, I'm going to come and take the Gedula if I tell them the din. I can't do that. He says, there's somebody bigger than me, let's go to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why he brings, that's why he brings it before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Hashem tells him that they're correct. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and Hashem says that their words were correct. And the real pshat in that is because of their righteousness that they should have this acknowledgement and should be written al Yadan, as Rashi Avachim says. It was a schus that this parsha of the Torah should be written through their word, through them. But at the end of the day, Moshe Rabbeinu really knew this halacha. Why didn't Moshe Rabbeinu answer the shayla? Because everybody's coming, we need the best, we need the best. So imagine Moshe Rabbeinu is going to get up. You have the best here. You found the best. You found the greatest. He's a humble person. He's not going to speak that way. He's not going to act that way. He's going to pass. He's going to say, "Let's take it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu." According to this Midrash, also, which is somewhat different, kind of doesn't exactly fit with the other Midrash, but the Midrash is both Midrash are making this point that there's a lesson here in humility. And the second Midrash is making this lesson that Moshe Rabbeinu. I think it's just a beautiful Midrash that I don't have so much to add to that. I just think it's a beautiful Midrash that Moshe Rabbeinu said that. I'm not going to do that. It's not going to be that everybody comes, I'm the best. It's not how you do things. And he passed it on to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I was just thinking, everybody knows Moshe Rabbeinu is the best. There's no secrets here. It's not like debatable. Everybody knows Moshe Rabbeinu went on Har Sinai and he got the Torah and he's the leader of Klal Yisrael. There's no proving himself here. There's no people thinking otherwise. But even so, there's a certain refinement. There's a certain sensitivity. There's a certain humility. Not sure if it's true Vart. I was thinking also there's this element that for all posterity, people open the Chumash and say, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know. Let's say according to the second pshat, that he really knew, but he covered it up, and people read it all the years and they say, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't know something that the women figured out. They bested him. And even so, it's worthwhile for that. Why? Because humility is the proper derech. I think it just teaches us a lesson in how we have to speak, how we have to behave, how we have to deal with other people, and then we have to be humble. We can't ward ourselves over other people. We have to respect people, not look down on people, and Mitzvah Hashem follow in the ways of Moshe Rabbeinu with humility. May you have a wonderful Shabbos.